Okay, today we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam. We will start from the very beginning, the first verse of the first chapter of the first canto. Second. Yes, here it is. Questions by the sages is the name of the chapter. And the verse is as follows. Om namo bhagavate vāsudevāya janma-ādi asya yato nvayād itarataś cārtheṣv abhijñaḥ svarāṭ tene brahma hṛdā ādi-kavaye muhyanti sūrayaḥ tejo-vāri-mṛdāṁ yathā vinimayo yatra tri-sargo mṛṣā dhāmnā svena sada nirasta-kuhakaṁ satyam param dhīmahi. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O my Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading Personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa because He is the Absolute Truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and He is independent, because there is no other cause beyond Him. It is He who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By Him even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire, or land seen on water. Only because of Him do the material universes temporarily manifested by the reaction of the three modes of nature appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon Him, Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon Him, for He is the Absolute Truth. Purport. Obeisances unto the Personality of Godhead Vasudeva directly indicate Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, who is the divine son of Vasudeva and Devaki. This fact will be more explicitly explained in the text of this work. Sri Vyasadeva asserts herein that Śrī Kṛṣṇa is the original Personality of Godhead, and all others are His direct or indirect plenary portions or portions of the portion. Srila Jiva Goswami has even more explicitly explained the subject matter in his Krishna Sandarbha. And Brahma, the original living being, has explained the subject of Śrī Kṛṣṇa substantially in his treatise named Brahma Samhita. In an Upanishad, in Samaveda, it is also stated that Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa is the divine son of Devaki. Therefore, in this prayer, the first proposition holds that Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa is the primeval Lord, and if any transcendental nomenclature is to be understood as belonging to the Absolute Personality of Godhead, it must be the name indicated by the word Krishna, which means the all-attractive. In Bhagavad Gita, in many places, the Lord asserts Himself to be the original Personality of Godhead, and this is confirmed by Arjuna and also by great sages like Narada, Vyasa, and many others. In the Padma Purana, it is also stated that out of the innumerable names of the Lord, the name of Krishna is the principal one. Vasudeva indicates the plenary portion of the Personality of Godhead, and all the different forms of the Lord, being identical with Vasudeva, are indicated in this text. The name Vasudeva particularly indicates the divine son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Śrī Kṛṣṇa is always meditated upon by the Paramahamsas, who are the perfected ones among those in the renounced order of life. Vasudeva, O Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, is the cause of all causes. Everything that exists emanates from the Lord. How this is so is explained in later chapters of this work. This work is described by Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya as a spotless Purana, because it contains the transcendental narration of the Personality of Godhead Śrī Kṛṣṇa. The history of the Srimad Bhagavatam is also very glorious. It was compiled by Sri Vyasadeva after he had attained maturity in transcendental knowledge. He wrote this under the instructions of Sri Naradaji, his spiritual master. Vyasadeva compiled all Vedic literatures containing the 4 divisions of the Vedas, the Vedanta Sutras, or the Brahma Sutras, the Puranas, the Mahabharata, and so on. But nevertheless, he was not satisfied. His dissatisfaction was observed by his spiritual master, and thus Narada advised him to write on the transcendental activities of Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa. These transcendental activities are described specifically in the 10th canto of this work. But in order to reach to the very substance, one must proceed gradually by developing knowledge of the categories. It is natural that a philosophical mind wants to know about the origin of the creation. At night, he sees the stars in the sky, and he naturally speculates about their inhabitants. Such inquiries are natural for man because man has a developed consciousness which is higher than that of the animals. The author of Śrīmad Bhagavatam gives a direct answer to such inquiries. He says that the Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa is the origin of all creations. He is not only the creator of the universe, but the destroyer as well. The manifested cosmic nature is created at a certain period by the will of the Lord. It is maintained for some time, and then it is annihilated by his own will. Therefore, the Supreme Will is behind all cosmic activities. Of course, there are atheists of various categories who do not believe in a creator, but that is due to a poor fund of knowledge. The modern scientist, for example, has created space satellites, and by some arrangement or other, these satellites are thrown into outer space to fly for some time at the control of the scientist who is far away. Similarly, all the universes with innumerable stars and planets are controlled by the intelligence of the Personality of Godhead. In Vedic literatures it is said that the absolute truth, Personality of Godhead, is the chief amongst all living personalities. All living beings, beginning from the first created being, Brahma, down to the smallest ant, are individual living beings, and above Brahma there are even other living beings with individual capacities, and the Personality of Godhead is also a similar living being, and he is an individual as are the other living beings. But the Supreme Lord, or the Supreme Living Being, has the greatest intelligence, and he possesses supermost inconceivable energies of all different varieties. If a man's brain can produce a space satellite, one can very easily imagine how brains higher than man can produce similarly wonderful things, which are far superior. The reasonable person will easily accept this argument, but there are stubborn atheists who would never agree. Śrīla Vyasadeva, however, at once accepts the Supreme Intelligence as the Parameshvara. He offers his respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Intelligence addressed as the Para, or the Parameshvara, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that Parameshvara is Śrī Kṛṣṇa, as admitted in Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures delivered by Śrī Vyasadeva, and specifically in this Śrīmad Bhagavatam. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that there is no other Paratattva, summum bonum, than himself. Therefore, Śrī Vyasadeva at once worships the Paratattva Śrī Kṛṣṇa, whose transcendental activities are described in the 10th canto. Unscrupulous persons go immediately to the 10th canto, and especially to the 5 chapters which describe the Lord's rasa dance. This portion of the Śrīmad Bhagavatam is the most confidential part of this great literature. Unless one is thoroughly accomplished in the transcendental knowledge of the Lord, one is sure to misunderstand the Lord's worshipable transcendental pastimes called rasa dance, and his love affairs with the gopis. This subject matter is highly spiritual, and only the liberated persons who have gradually attained the stage of Paramahamsa can transcendentally relish this rasa dance. Śrīla Vyasadeva therefore gives the reader the chance to gradually develop spiritual realization before actually relishing the essence of the pastimes of the Lord. Therefore, he purposefully invokes a Gayatri mantra, dhīmahi. This Gayatri mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people. When one is successful in chanting the Gayatri mantra, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. One must therefore acquire Brahminical qualities or be perfectly situated in the quality of goodness in order to chant the Gayatri mantra successfully and then attain to the stage of transcendentally realizing the Lord, his name, his fame, his qualities, and so on. Śrīmad Bhagavatam is the narration of the swarupa of the Lord manifested by his internal potency, and this potency is distinguished from the external potency which has manifested the cosmic world. which is within our experience. Srila Vyasadeva makes a clear distinction between the two in this shloka. Sri Vyasadeva says herein that the manifested internal potency is real, whereas the external manifested energy in the form of material existence is only temporary and illusory, like the mirage in the desert. In the desert mirage there is no actual water. There is only the appearance of water. Real water is somewhere else. The manifested cosmic creation appears as reality, but reality of which this is but a shadow is in the spiritual world. Absolute truth is in the spiritual sky, not the material sky. In the material sky everything is relative truth. That is to say, one truth depends on something else. This cosmic creation results from interaction of the three modes of nature, and the temporary manifestations are so created as to present an illusion of reality to the bewildered mind of the conditioned soul, who appears in so many species of life, including the higher demigods like Brahma, Indra, Chandra, and so on. In actuality, there is no reality in the manifested world. There appears to be reality, however, because of the true reality which exists in the spiritual world, where the personality of Godhead eternally exists with his transcendental paraphernalia. The chief engineer of a complicated construction does not personally take part in the construction, but he knows every nook and corner because everything is done under his direction. He knows everything about the construction, both directly and indirectly. Similarly, the personality of Godhead, who is the supreme engineer of this cosmic creation, knows every nook and corner, although affairs are being carried out by the demigods. Beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, no one is independent in the material creation. The hand of the Lord is seen everywhere. All material elements, as well as spiritual sparks, emanate from Him only, and whatever is created in this material world is but the interaction of two energies, the material and the spiritual, which emanate from the Absolute Truth, the Personality of Godhead, Śrī Kṛṣṇa. A chemist can manufacture water in the chemical laboratory by mixing hydrogen and oxygen, but in reality the living entity works in the laboratory under the direction of the Supreme Lord. And the materialists and the materials with which he works are also supplied by the Lord. The Lord knows everything directly and indirectly, and he is cognizant of all minute details, and he is fully independent. He is compared to a mine of gold, and the cosmic creations in so many different forms are compared to objects made of the gold, such as gold rings, necklaces, and so on. The gold ring and the gold necklace are qualitatively one with the gold in the mine, but quantitatively the gold in the mine is different. Therefore, the Absolute Truth is simultaneously one and different. Nothing is absolutely equal with the Supreme Truth, Absolute Truth, but at the same time nothing is independent of the Absolute Truth. Conditioned souls beginning from Brahma, who engineers the entire universe down to the insignificant ant, are all creating, but none of them is independent of the Supreme Lord. The materialist wrongly thinks that there is no creator other than his own self. This is called Maya or illusion. Because of this poor fund of knowledge, the materialist cannot see beyond the purview of his imperfect senses, and thus he thinks that matter automatically takes its own shape, without the aid of a superior intelligence. This is refuted in this shloka by Srila Vyasadeva. Since the complete whole, or the Absolute Truth, is the source of everything, nothing can be independent of the body of the Absolute Truth. Whatever happens to the body quickly becomes known to the embodied. Similarly, the creation is the body of the Absolute Truth. Therefore, the Absolute knows everything directly and indirectly that happens in the creation. In the Shruti mantra, it is also stated that the Absolute Whole, or Brahman, is the ultimate source of everything. Everything emanates from him, and everything is maintained by him. At the end, everything enters into him. That is the law of nature. In the Smriti mantra, the same is confirmed. It is said that the source from which everything emanates at the beginning of Brahma's millennium and the reservoir to which everything ultimately enters is the Absolute Truth of Brahman. Material scientists take it for granted that the ultimate source of the planetary system is the sun, but they are unable to explain the source of the sun. Herein, the ultimate source is explained. According to the Vedic literatures, Brahma, who may be compared to the sun, is not the ultimate creator. It is stated in this shloka that Brahma was taught Vedic knowledge by the personality of Godhead. One may argue that Brahma, being the original living being, could not be inspired because there was no other living being at the time. Herein it is stated that the Supreme Lord inspired the secondary creator Brahma in order that Brahma could carry out his creative functions. So, the supreme intelligence behind all creations is the absolute Godhead, Śrī Kṛṣṇa. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa states that it is he only who superintends the creative energy, Prakriti, which constitutes the totality of matter. Therefore, Sri Vyasadeva does not worship Brahma, but the Supreme Lord who guides Brahma in his creative activities. In this shloka, the particular words abhijñaḥ and sva-rāṭ are significant. These two words distinguish the Supreme Lord from all the other living beings, entities. No other living entity is either abhijñaḥ or sva-rāṭ. That is, no one is either fully cognizant or fully independent. Even Brahma has to meditate upon the Supreme Lord in order to create. Then what to speak of great scientists like Einstein? The brains of such scientists are certainly not the products of any human being. Scientists cannot manufacture such a brain, and what to speak of foolish atheists who defy the authority of the Lord. Even mayādi impersonalists who flatter themselves that they can become one with the Lord are neither abhijñaḥ nor sva-rāṭ. Such impersonalists undergo severe austerities to acquire knowledge to become one with the Lord, but ultimately they become dependent on some rich disciple who supplies them with money to build monasteries and temples. Atheists like Ravana or Hiranyakashipu had to undergo severe penances before they could flout the authority of the Lord. But ultimately they were rendered helpless and could not save themselves when the Lord appeared before them as cruel death. This is also the cause with the modern atheists who also dare to flout the authority of the Lord. Such atheists will be dealt with similarly, for history repeats itself. Whenever man neglects the authority of the Lord, nature and her laws are there to penalize them. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, verse number 7, in the well-known verse yathā hi dharmasya glani. Whenever there is a decline of dharma and a rise of adharma, O Arjuna, then I incarnate myself. That the Supreme Lord is the All-Perfect is confirmed in all Shruti mantras. It is said in the Shruti mantras that the All-Perfect Lord threw a glance of matter and thus created all living beings. The living beings are parts and parcels of the Lord, and he impregnates the vast material creation with seeds of spiritual sparks, and thus the creative energies are set in motion to enact so many wonderful creations. An atheist may argue that God is no more expert than a watchmaker, but of course God is greater because he can create machines in duplicate male and female forms. The male and female forms of different types of machineries go on producing innumerable similar machines without God's further attention. If a man could manufacture such a set of machines that could produce other machines without his attention, then he could approach the intelligence of God, but that is not possible, for each machine has to be handled individually. Therefore, no one can create as well as God. Another name of God is asamordva, which means that no one is equal to or greater than him. Param Satyam, of the Supreme Truth, is he who has no equal or superior. This is confirmed in the Shruti mantras. It is said that before the creation of the material universe, there existed the Lord only, who is master of everyone. The Lord instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge. That Lord has to be obeyed in all respects. Anyone who wants to get rid of the material entanglement must surrender unto him. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Unless one surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, it is certain that he will be bewildered. When an intelligent man surrenders unto the lotus feet of Krishna and knows completely that Krishna is the cause of all causes, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, then only can such an intelligent man become a Mahatma or great soul. But such a great soul is rarely seen. Only the Mahatmas can understand that the Supreme Lord is the primeval cause of all creations. He is Parama, or ultimate truth, because all other truths are relative to him. He is omniscient. For him there is no illusion. Some Mayavadi scholars argue that Srimad Bhagavatam was not compiled by Sri Vyasadeva, and some of them suggest that this book is a modern creation written by someone named Vopadeva. In order to refute such meaningless arguments, Sri Sridhara Swami points out that there is reference to the Bhagavatam in many of the oldest Puranas. This first shloka of the Bhagavatam begins with the Gayatri mantra. There is reference to this in the Matsya Purana, which is the oldest Purana. In that Purana it is said, with reference to the Gayatri mantra in the Bhagavatam, that there are many narrations of spiritual instructions beginning with the Gayatri mantra, and there is the history of Vritrasura. Anyone who makes a gift of this great work on a full moon day attains to the highest perfection of life by returning to Godhead. There is a reference to the Bhagavatam in other Puranas also, where it is clearly stated that this work was finished in 12 cantos, which include 18,000 shlokas. In the Padma Purana also there is reference to the Bhagavatam in a conversation between Gautama and Maharaja Ambarisha. The king was advised therein to read regularly Srimad Bhagavatam if he desired liberation from material bondage. Under the circumstances, there is no doubt about the authority of the Bhagavatam. Within the past 500 years, many erudite scholars and acharyas like Jiva Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti, Vallabhacharya, and many other distinguished scholars, even after the time of Lord Chaitanya, made elaborate commentaries on the Bhagavatam, and the serious student would do well to attempt to go through them to better relish the transcendental messages. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur specifically deals with the original and pure sex psychology, ādi-rasa, devoid of all mundane inebriety. The whole material creation is moving under the principles of sex life. In modern civilization, sex life is the focal point for all activities. Wherever one turns his face, he sees sex life predominant. Therefore, sex life is not unreal. Its reality is experienced in the spiritual world. The material sex life is but a perverted reflection of the original fact. The original fact is in the absolute truth, and thus the absolute truth cannot be impersonal. It is not possible to be impersonal and contain pure sex life. Consequently, the impersonalist philosophers have given indirect impetus to the abominable mundane sex life because they have overstressed the impersonality of the ultimate truth. Consequently, man without information of the actual spiritual form of sex has accepted perverted material sex life as the all-in-all. There is a distinction between sex life in the diseased material condition and spiritual sex life. This Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, will gradually elevate the unbiased reader to the highest perfectional stage of transcendence. It will enable him to transcend the three modes of material activities: fruitive actions, speculative philosophy, and worship of functional deities as inculcated in Vedic verses. Verse once again. Om namo bhagavate vāsudevāya janma-ādi asya yato nvayād itarataś cārtheṣv abhijñaḥ sva-rāṭ tene brahma hṛdā ādi-kavaye muhyanti sūrayaḥ tejo-vāri-mṛdāṁ yathā vinimayo yatra tri-sargo mṛṣā dhāmnā svena sada nirasta-kuhakaṁ satyam param dhīmahi. O my Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes, of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in the fire, or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namashreshtham Manumapi Shachiputra-matra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Urupuri Mathurim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudhirayat nashta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Okay, so this is first verse and very philosophical, very big bhashya Srila Prabhupada had written about this, and there are a few points which I'll try to meditate upon in this lecture. First point is I'm going just through the purport of Srila Prabhupada, making some notes. So first point was that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. This Krishna, as it is stated in Śrīmad Bhagavatam, Eti chamsha kala pumsak Krishna stu bhagavan svayam indradi vyakulam lokam mṛdayani yuge yuge. That there are many incarnations of God also. Krishna, as we see him, as Lord Shyamasundar, with two-armed form, with holding flute and enjoying the pastimes of Vrindavan, of Goloka Vrindavan. He is the original personality of Godhead. And all other his expansions and manifestations, such as four-handed Narayana and Mahavishnu and Kshirodakashaya Vishnu and then Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, who are in this material universes, this three Purusha avatars. They and many other forms which incarnate in this material world, also, and they are also always existing in Vaikunthas, in eternal abodes, such as Lord Ramachandra, Lord Narsinga, Lord Varaha, Lord Vamana, and many others, Kurma, Matsya, etc., etc. The very nice explanation and a list of these is given in the third chapter of the first of Adi Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, written by Srila Prabhupada, also translated. So they're different, and in the book called Teachings of Lord Chaitanya is very big science of God, who is God. But the point here in this verse is that Krishna's is that janma-ādi asya yato nvayād itarataś cārtheṣv abhijñaḥ svarāṭ, that he is the source of all manifestations of all that be, which includes all his other incarnations also. So Krishna is the Adi Purusha. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have this book Prabhupada has written describing the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. This is called Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that means that Krishna in his two-armed form is the original personality of Godhead. And there are others also who have the same potency, but Krishna assumes these forms and expands himself in these forms just to enjoy different pastimes and for different purposes also. To annihilate the demons, to protect the devotees, and so on and so forth. So this Bhagavatam is dealing with Krishna. The topic of Bhagavatam is Krishna, and to understand who is Krishna, Srila Vyasadeva had written Bhagavatam in such a way that we can understand what is the position of Krishna by reading first 9 cantos of Bhagavatam, and then we come to the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, which is dealing only with Krishna Lila. The first 9 cantos, they explain different manifestations of Krishna and different energies of Krishna, how this material world was created, how it is different Purusha avatars, different Guna avatars, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, what is their position, what is Lord Vishnu's position, and of course there are incarnations of the Lord are described, Dashavatar, and in the Bhagavatam, and 10 incarnations. Yes, there are innumerable incarnations, but in the Bhagavatam, the most well-known are described. And so therefore this it's Srimad Bhagavatam dealing with Bhagavan and with Bhagavatas. What are the dealings between Bhagavan and his bhaktas, his devotees also. This is one of the things. And Srila Prabhupada explains that Bhagavatam was compiled by Vyasadeva in his mature stage. So Vyasadeva is the literary incarnation of the God. He compiled the Vedas. He wrote down the Vedas 5,000 years ago. He wrote 4 Vedas. Previously, before 5,000 years ago, there was no need of writing books because the memory of the people was so sharp that they can... this is the Vedic system of life. Vedic system means the Varnashram Dharma. And Srila Prabhupada explains that by following Varnashram Dharma, by following Brahmacharya, first it begins with Brahmacharya. And by following Brahmacharya, the brain becomes so sharp, the memory becomes so sharp that whatever the student, the celibate student, what is the meaning of Brahmacharya? Brahmacharya means celibacy and no sex life. And student from the age of 5 till 25 years, he's studying in the Gurukula, in the place of Guru. He's studying Vedic literatures. So if he keeps his seminar, if he does not discharge it, then his memory becomes so sharp that he could remember everything, every single instruction given by the spiritual master. There is no need of books even. So that was the system, and people were so intelligent at that age, at previous ages. But when the age of Kali came, the Vyasadeva, he could understand that Kali is coming and people will become more and more dull. Their brains will become more and more dull. They will not be able to understand everything by once hearing from the spiritual master. That will be not possible. Therefore, he compiled the Vedas, which were present in the way present in the hearts of people who, saintly persons who were studying them from the spiritual master. He compiled them and wrote them and divided them into 4 Vedas, into Sama, Yajur, Rig, Atharva, and then different Upanishads, different books he wrote. And also he wrote Mahabharata for the less intelligent people, Stri, Shudra, Dvija Bandhuna, Trayi na Shruti Gocharam, that Stri, women, Shudras, the worker class of men, and Dvija Bandhu, and those who are born in high class families, like that of Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, but they don't have a qualification of Brahman, Kshatriya, or Vaishya. They simply have a sacred thread, and they simply say that I'm a Brahmana because I'm born in a Brahmana family, but they have no qualification as Brahmana. So these are called Dvija Bandhu. They are not actually Dvija. Dvija means second birth. Second birth is given by Guru, spiritual master. They are not actually Dvija. They're Dvija Bandhu. They are born in the family of Dvija. That's all. So Mahabharata, and inside the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita is there. Inside this Mahabharata was written for the less intelligent class of men, and for the most intelligent class of men there was Vedanta Sutra, and Vedanta is the end of all knowledge, is the topmost spiritual knowledge. But it is explained in this, described in this purport by Srila Prabhupada very nicely, that Srila Vyasadeva, he compiled all these Vedic literatures, but he was not satisfied in the heart. So how is that? And he was morose, and he was not happy. And he was thinking about why I'm not happy. I had written everything to help these poor people. He wrote all there are different kinds of Vedic knowledge also. Vedas don't deal only with transcendence. Vedas also deal with aparavidya. Aparavidya means mundane knowledge, how to live properly in this material world. But this kind of knowledge does not elevate people to the transcendental status of life. It is not spiritual. So, and also he wrote spiritual knowledge, of course, Vedanta Sutra, but he was not satisfied. And at that time, his spiritual master came. His spiritual master is Narada Muni, great sage. And he asked him, why are you morose? Vyasadeva said, I don't know. I had compiled all these Vedas and everything I wrote down, but I'm morose, somehow or other. I do not know, but you are my spiritual master, you are my guru. Therefore you know why I'm not happy. You please explain to me. And Narada Muni says, yes, I will explain. I know, actually. So this is the relationship between guru and disciple. And then Vyasadeva said that you had explained so many things there, but you did not explain about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You did not explain about Krishna. Your all works, they deal either with Purushartha only, with Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, with religiosity, with Artha means well-being, material well-being, like how to sustain myself, how to maintain myself, how to get money, like this, in simple terms. Dharma, Artha, and Kama, and how to satisfy desires, and Moksha. And ultimately you describe how to get Moksha in Vedanta Sutra and Upanishads. This is scriptures written for those people who are inclined toward liberation, how to get free out of repeated birth and death. These are Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra. And you had written other Puranas also, but it is not you are not satisfied because you did not describe the glories of the transcendental Lord of Śrī Kṛṣṇa. therefore you are not happy. So you just compile one literature which is fully describing the glories of the Lord. So this literature is Srimad Bhagavatam, and this is perfect literature in all respects. And Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said that this is Amala Purana, this is perfect Purana. So this is the literature, the story how Srimad Bhagavatam was made 5,000 years ago. Amala Purana. So this Vedanta Sutra is the natural commentary, this Bhagavatam is the natural commentary of the on the Vedanta. Vedanta Sutra explains, begins with janma-ādi, asya, yathā, what is the source of everything. And the Bhagavatam also begins with the same words, janma-ādi, asya, yathā, nvayād, itarataś, cārtheṣv, abhijñaḥ, sva-rāṭ, that janma-ādi, asya, yathā, that what is the source of everything. Bhagavata Purana says, it's Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He is the source of everything. So our duty is to serve him. This is Bhagavata Dharma. Our duty is to satisfy him. The source of everything is Krishna. It's not the Big Bang, nothing of this sort. Cosmos is not made of Big Bang. There is consciousness behind it. And there must be consciousness, because how otherwise all these very complex things, they are maintained in such a perfect world, everything is working so nicely. Without consciousness behind it, it would not be possible to construct such a world. We cannot, and we cannot understand. The scientists, they want to speculate on what is the source of everything, and this and that, but we cannot speculate what's behind what behind this creation, because we are ourselves conditioned by this creation. We are ourselves imprisoned in this creation, so our mind is also captivated by this creation, and what we can understand beyond this creation. Like it is said that philosophy is the attempt of the mind to raise beyond the mind, but this is not possible. It's like the Baron Münchhausen, who was trying to pull himself out of the, what is this, of the lake or some kind of water, by pulling himself by the hair. So this is foolishness. This is not possible. We are ourselves defective, limited. We're conditioned by material energy. We're conditioned by birth and death. So we cannot understand what is beyond birth and death, what is beyond this creation. This is not possible. Our senses are imperfect and so many things. We have 4 defects: Brahm, Pramad, Vipralipsa, Karanapatat. And we have tendency, our senses are imperfect, we have tendency to cheat, we are illusioned, and Brahm, Pramad, and I forgot the translation. Anyway, we are very imperfect. So how to get perfect knowledge of what is beyond this creation? We must accept the Shabda, we must accept the Shabda Pramana. The Vedic way of understanding knowledge is hearing, is not speculating, hearing from the authoritative source, from the Guru Parampara. As Lord Brahma says, Tanes Citashruti Gatam Tanuvan Manobhi Preso Jitopyasi Ajito Jitopyasi Tres Trilokyam. That Krishna is Ajita. We cannot understand him, we cannot capture him by our attempts, but we can understand him and we can capture him. Not understand fully, he's unlimited, of course. We cannot understand him fully at any time. He himself cannot understand him fully. So we can accept the knowledge about him with submissiveness and humbleness. We should be very humble and submissive. We should not be very proud of our so-called knowledge. We have no knowledge after all about God, so better to accept it from those who have this knowledge, and this knowledge comes from God himself. Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, for instance, what he is, who he is, what is this world, and so on and so forth. So we simply accept it, and Krishna is accepted as God by Vyasadeva, by Narada, by Asita, Devala, Vyasa. Ādi-devam ajam vibhum. Arjuna says that yo param brahma param dhāmnā. And Krishna says himself that mata parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. He said, there is no truth more than me. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I am the source of everything. So interesting thing also in Srila Prabhupada explains that without understanding of these things, that Krishna is actually the Param Brahma, but he is acting sometimes very, as it is said in this verse, that even the great sages and demigods are illusioned by his energy, are illusioned by him. Even Lord Brahma sometimes illusioned. When Lord Krishna comes to this earth as to play as a coward boy, Krishna is coward boy. He is the source of everything, of all that be. He is the master of all the demigods, and at the same time, he is the coward boy. He is raising cows, and he is playing with his friends, and he is joking and laughing and behaving just like an ordinary boy. But he is not an ordinary boy. He is the Supreme Lord. So even Lord Brahma sometimes became bewildered. Krishna, Lord Brahma was thinking, how's that? He is supposed to be the Supreme Lord, but he is playing just like an ordinary boy. He is raising cows. How's that? How's it possible? He cannot be God. Of course, Lord Brahma knew that Krishna was God when he came here 5,000 years ago. Lord Brahma knew that he is God, but because after all he is the creator of this universe, he knows that at such and such time the appearance, the avatar incarnation of the Lord will come to this planet and will manifest his pastimes and will do such and such thing. He will be born here and he will do this and that, and he knew everything about that. And he himself was a devotee of the Lord, of course, great devotee, Lord Brahma, but he's the head of our sampradaya. Our sampradaya is Brahma Madhva Sampradaya, Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So, and he himself became illusioned. He was thinking, how's that? He cannot be God. And he had stolen all the friends of Krishna with whom he was playing. He was playing with cows and coward boys, and he stolen all of them, and he kept them in the Brahma Loka. So, and he was thinking, what if he is God, then something will happen. He will prove somehow rather than he is God. So he kept them there, and but Krishna, he just manifested, expanded from himself all the same forms of his friends, the same cows, the same, everything continued, just like nothing happened. Like Lord Brahma did not stolen everything. So Lord Brahma was seeing that the cows are there, but I had stolen them, but and coward boys are there, and Krishna is there, everything is going on as before. So what's going on here? And 1 year passed in this way, and no one, even the parents of the stolen boys, even the cows who were the mothers of calves, who also were stolen, they did not understood what happened. For 1 year, Krishna, he knew everything, how their friends his friends are behaving, and how they speak with their mother. So they simply Simply nothing happened, but the only change was that the mothers and fathers, they became more attached to their children, because now their children was Krishna himself. He was simply playing the part of their children. So this is the omnipotency of Krishna. This is the power of Krishna. He can do everything he likes. So Lord Brahma became bewildered. How is that possible? What is that? What is going on? And then he came to Krishna and he surrendered to his feet. And then he saw that all these boys, all these calves, all these thousands and millions of cows and calves and boys, they all have four-armed forms, like his worshipable deity Narayana. They all have four-armed forms and they all emanate from Krishna. And he sees all of this and he starts to offer prayers to Krishna. So this is all explained in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. But the thing is that before we can go to the 10th canto, we must read the first 9 cantos. In the first 9 cantos, there is explanation of what are the energies of Krishna. That Krishna is the source of everything that be. That is explained in the first 9 cantos. And what is his characteristics, what is his dealings with devotees, everything is explained there. Otherwise, some cheap imitators, pseudo devotees, they imitate. They simply accept Krishna as as a cheap thing. They see that Krishna, when he comes 5,000 years ago, he is just playing with his boys, and as if they are on the equal level. Just like sometimes Krishna is playing with his friends, and with Sudama, and Sudama, they are playing. What is this called? The wrestling. Yes, the wrestling fight, and they fight with each other. And Sudama, he wins, and Krishna taps the floor 3 times. And says, okay, all right, you won. And Sudama wins, and Krishna, because he lost the fight, lost the fight, he is carrying the Sudama on his shoulders. So, but he's God. But who is the more powerful, God or his devotee? So this is simply the reciprocation of the dealings with devotee and his Lord, worshipable Lord. For Sudama, Krishna is always. Sudama thinks that Krishna is always my object of love. They don't know even that Krishna is God. They love him so much that all opulences of God, all his power, they do not understand this, but covered by spiritual potency. But Krishna, so that their reciprocation will be very sweet. Just like, for instance, if Srila Prabhupada explains this in Chaitanya Charitamrita in first I think chapter of the Adi Lila, that Krishna and Narayana is the form from which all the cosmic manifestation, this material universe, is coming from. So Srila Prabhupada explains that Narayana is like Narayana and Krishna, they're the same person. They're one. They're God. But the Prabhupada gives the it's similar to the one man. He is the high court judge, and he goes to his work, and he is very big man there, and everyone worships him and respects him very much, and very fearful to him, because once he sees you and he says 30 years in jail and you're immediately in the prison for 30 years. But when the same person, in the work, he is like a very, everyone respects him and deals with him in such a respectful, very tactful mood. But when he comes to his home, his child climbs on his back, and this very high court judge, he's riding like a horse on the four legs on the floor in the house, and his wife also have some pet name for him, some poopsie or something, but which cannot be used in the high court judge. If somebody will say, dear honorable poopsie, now now you have to give your judgment. This is foolishness. This cannot be done. Then you will be thrown in the prison. That will be the judgment. Because the relationship are different. So similarly, Krishna and Narayana, they're the same. But Narayana is worshipped in awe and venerance, and in Aishwarya Bhav with some little bit fearful attitude that he is Almighty God. That is the conception. But Krishna, the devotees, they worship him. They dedicate everything for him. Nothing for their sense gratification in Vrindavan. But the worship is there. But they love him so much, and their love is so pure that they forget even that he is God. Like sometimes Nanda Maharaj, he is the father of Krishna. He is the pure devotee of Krishna, and he is playing the role of the father. So sometimes there's discussion in Vrindavan because no one understands who is Krishna. Everyone, worships him so much. Although they are living with God in one village, they sometimes ask if when Krishna does something wonderful, some lifting Govardhana hill or something, he kills some big asura, some big demon, he kills him and goes victorious from the fight. Everyone is struck with wonder. How is this? Who is this Krishna? Maybe he is a demigod. Maybe he is Indra. Maybe he is Lord Shiva. And Nanda Maharaj says that I don't care if he is himself Lord Narayan. He is my son after all. I have to raise him accordingly. So this transcendental relationship with the devotees of Vrindavan, which are described in the 10th canto. So to understand these things, and we should understand first of all the Aishwarya of the Krishna. Then we can understand the Madhurya. Aishwarya means the position of the supreme controller of everything that be. That we should understand first. That Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. He says, just give up all nonsense what you are planning to do, all your so-called plans, what to do in this material world, how to be happy here, or this religion or that religion, this yoga or that yoga, this meditation, this rascaldom. You give it up, everything. You just surrender to me. You surrender to my lotus feet. That's all. You will be happy, and that's all. You will be saved. But there is. Yeah, and this we should understand, that we should surrender to Krishna and serve him. He is the supreme enjoyer. He is the supreme master of everything. He is the supreme enjoyer. We are not enjoyers in this world. We try to enjoy, but we are not successful. Some people, they understand that actually we are enjoying by service, by serving. This is our constitutional position, to serve. But their service is also misplaced, therefore they are not also happy, even those who are not so much egoistic, so-called. They think that they are not so much egoistic, but they are actually. This is extended selfishness. To serve anyone in this material world is extended selfishness. So, we should understand that the service should be applied, the love, everything should be applied only to Krishna. Only Krishna is the object of our love, no one else. Nothing else deserves our love so much, because what this nonsense love will give us, will give the lover also, who will be happy. So, Ekali Śrī Kṛṣṇa arasabhabritya. There are two things. One is Ishvara and one is servant. So who is the servant? We are servant. And who is the master who enjoys the service? It's Krishna. So this is but the servant and the servitor and the one who is served, they are one in nature, but also different. The difference is we are one because we are spiritual both. We are eternal. In our constitutional position, we are blissful and we are full of knowledge. Now we are in ignorance and in miserable condition. But when we go back to Godhead, back to our home, from where we fell down here, then we will attain the same position, same status quo as Lord Krishna himself. But the difference is always there, that he is master and we are servant, that's all. He is the enjoyer of everything that we should do. We should do everything for his enjoyment, that's all. And we should serve him and he will enjoy simply. But the reciprocation, that is difference. But reciprocation is also there, because when we serve Krishna, then we are also happy. When he is happy, then we are happy. That is our position. That by nourishing the root of the tree, all the branches and the leaves are automatically satisfied. So if we worship Krishna, then we are also satisfied. Or in the 7th canto of Bhagavatam, there is the comparison of if we decorate ourselves, then the reflection in the mirror will be also decorated. So if we decorate Krishna, then our heart will be decorated, Prabhupada says sometimes. When we decorate the deity of Krishna, when we offer nice garlands, if we clean the temple, then our heart will become also clean. So this is the same. This is called achintya bheda abheda tattva. Achintya bheda abheda. Achintya means unconceivable. We cannot conceive it with our teeny brains. Achintya bheda abheda. Bheda means difference. So we are different because one is servant and one is master. But abheda also, because we are spiritual, and we are not different in this way from Krishna. But that does not mean that we are Krishna. We are always servant. We are a teeny part of Krishna, and he is the big Krishna, the Supreme Lord, from whom we emanate. And all we see is also emanation from Krishna. This material world is nothing but an energy of Krishna. Krishna explains it in Bhagavad Gita in 7th chapter 5, verse number 5 and 6, that they are material energy, and this is my energy. Bhumira pona lovayu, this earth, water, fire, air, ether, and a mind, intelligence, and false ego. These are 8 material elements. They are my energy, Krishna says. Vinimayo, my. Me means mine. They are mine. Prakriti ashtadha. Ashta means 8. They are my energies. What we see is simply Krishna's energies. So what is, and in the 6th verse, Krishna explains that aparemitastvanyam prakriti vidhime param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. That also there is another type of energy which is higher than this matter, which is different thing. That is jiva bhutam mahabaho. This is Arjuna. This is jiva bhuta. This is living entity itself. This is the soul. So we are actually this energy. We are also energy of Krishna. So energy and the energetic, they're not different, but there's difference. This is inconceivable philosophy, which is explained only in Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the nature of this most beautiful scripture. There is no comparison to Srimad Bhagavatam in any religion, in any other scriptures, even Vedic scriptures. Srimad Bhagavatam is the cream, is the Veda Sara. Sara means essence of all the Vedas, like the cream, the butter is the essence of the milk. So butter is there inside the milk, Prabhupada explains in one lecture. Butter is there inside the milk, but how to take it from the milk? You must churn it, then you will take milk. Separate this little bit butter there will be, and milk. So Bhagavatam is the saram, is the essence of all the Vedas, and it is, like this. So this is one consideration. What is the topic of this Bhagavatam? And yes, and another thing, Prabhupada is explaining that cheap. Why I'm explaining this? That there are. Yeah, Prabhupada makes this point also in the purport of this verse, that there are cheap imitators, cheap pseudo devotees who immediately jump to the 10th canto, not understanding first 9 cantos. So they are imitating Krishna's activities with young coward girlfriends, Rasa Lila. They think, and Srila Prabhupada twice explains that these imposters, these rascals, they are not devotees actually, they are simply bogus fellows. They accept Krishna as something very, very cheap, very simple. So they are deluded by illusion. They're bewildered by illusion, by Krishna's Maya. They think that Krishna is they simply sentimentally accept Krishna as some kind of God without knowing the philosophy. Therefore, when Krishna dances with young coward girlfriends, young women, you could say, yes. Of course, they are not ordinary women. They are transcendental. They have transcendental bodies, and they are pure devotees of Krishna. So it is, but they do not understand all this philosophy, which they should understand from reading the first 9 cantos. They don't understand this. They think it's simply some kind of boring, dry philosophy. So it is not required to understand the sweetness of Krishna, but you cannot understand sweetness. It is required actually. You cannot understand sweetness before you understand the glory actually of greatness of Krishna. That is the fact. Acharyas says like this. Great spiritual masters, they explain this way. So these people, they are called sahajas. Prakrita sahajas means they accept Krishna's activities as something very cheap, something very easy to understand. So Krishna is dancing with young girls. All right, we can also dance with young girls. And then what happens is, you can imagine, they dance with young girls, and then abortion takes place, and illicit sex and everything. So many very horrible things. And they think that this is all transcendental because Krishna is doing this, so this is all transcendental. But this is not transcendental. What they are doing is not transcendental. What Krishna is doing, that is everything transcendental. What they are doing is everything non-transcendental. That is the difference. So yes, and another few points is that abhijñaḥ, sva-rāṭ, that people, it's explained in the Sanskrit of this verse that Krishna is abhijñaḥ sva-rāṭ. Abhijñaḥ means abhijñaḥ means he knows everything directly or indirectly, and Prabhupada explains it very nicely in the purport. As the proprietor of the factory knows everything in the factory. So Krishna knows everything directly and indirectly in this cosmic manifestation. Every atom he knows. There is nothing which Krishna does not know. Past, present and future. Everything is under his control. So abhijñaḥ sva-rāṭ. And some people, they ask then if he has such a knowledge, where from he has got this knowledge? No, he does not have to take knowledge, take education from anyone, because he is sva-rāṭ, he is fully independent. His knowledge is automatically present in him, because he is God after all. So yes, these are the points which I wanted to make in this discussion. So Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga.